Welcome, everyone. We're shooting a very special episode today. We have Dave Ashe and Dave Van Horn. I'm Steve Seymour. And combined, I'm super grateful to have over 100 years of experience at this table with the three of us. So
it's a little scary.
We have an entire century, and I'll just set the intention. So I feel like we have information there's information out there everywhere. YouTube, there's ChatGPT, there's tons of information out there. And then there's knowledge, which, is kind of the application of information and a deeper understanding of that knowledge and information. And then you have wisdom. And today we have a lot of wisdom at the table. We're not saying anything like, just because of gray beards, gray hair, that doesn't mean anything other than a lot of experience.
I don't have any hair.
But I think wisdom to me is from an extensive amount of experience and intimate knowledge in an area with lots of background and a diverse view of real estate. So Dave Ashe, the chairman of Tri-County Board of Realtors, currently our broker of record. Welcome again. Thank you so much.
Good to be here.
I'm honored to be in business with you. I think you're an incredible wealth of knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you.
And just a great person to be in business with. And I'm also honored to have Dave Van Horn here. Dave has helped me immensely. A lot of VRA has come from, my interest in real estate investing, and Dave has been instrumental, probably the most instrumental person in my real estate investing career. In the background here, Dave's been trying to tell me what to do for the last 10 years. I'm just a slow listener, a slow learner. But enough of me talking. So I really want to just, why don't you get to, Dave's been in the business how long?
Too long. 40 plus years, probably.
40 plus years. And Dave, I'll say Van Horn and Ashe.
Okay, there you go.
How long have you been in?
41 years.
Okay, great. So I've been in 20 years. So combined at this table, that's over 100 years of experience. But you guys are 4 times my experience, right? And I would say probably 100 times my, in terms of combined knowledge with you guys. I think you two have so much information to share. So my goal is to just get some of that out there for some of the listeners. And I really want to go into, if someone is looking at getting a career in real estate or going into the business, what do you think is the biggest thing that people either miss or they just don't know? They kind of miss the boat on when they're first getting started, and they don't, what's your advice to a newbie person?
For me, I think it's one is figuring out what you do best as quickly as you can, and follow I call them gazelles. In other words, follow the people that are really doing the bulk of the business. Because I found it to be like an 80-20 rule, where like 20% of the agents were doing 80% of the business. Follow those folks. Don't just follow anybody in the office, and really and that's what I did. I latched on to the top agents and said, what are they doing? Can I do that? And that was one step. And then I guess the other piece would be to invest in what I sell. The real estate business has this track record of a lot of agents don't really invest in real estate other than maybe their primary residence or a vacation home. And to me, that seemed off. It seemed like, why would I be a stockbroker and not invest in stock? That's what it was like when I looked at it. And I was like, and that's where I initially built my wealth, was by building a portfolio in real estate. And that's what, one thing led to another. And, that was the beginnings for me. So
it's awesome.
I think when you're getting new in the business in real estate, it's like going to college. When you graduate from high school at 18, you go to college and people say, oh, what are you going to major in? I have no idea. When you get into the business of real estate, you have to find your passion. And what your passion is whether it's investing in real estate or listing and selling houses. And people don't like new construction. Others love new construction and concentrate on new construction. So there's different ways to go in this, and you have the freedom to do that and make a decent wage.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree with both of your, inputs on that. So with, my goal in this is really to help people see around corners, right? Mm-hmm. See things, get the experience from you guys so you can help them essentially expedite their goals, right? Because it's all about, I don't think anyone gets in real estate because, when we were 5 years old, we were like, oh, I want to go sell houses and write contracts, right?
Yeah.
We get in real estate because we see other people doing really well and everyone thinks that, you can make a ton of money in real estate. What would you say, just again, going back and through your experience, but also from observing all the people around you, what is one of the biggest mistakes that you see people spend after 10, 20 years in the business?
I think getting complacent with, okay, so I've sold, $5 million in real estate last year. Yeah, I was happy with that.
To get comfortable.
You get comfortable with it. But the key to it, it's work. It's not easy. And it's a job, and you have to work hard at it.
Dave, what do you see for, obviously Dave's coming from a totally different perspective because he's come more from the investment side, but you did start as a realtor. But would you say, just in general, one of the biggest mistakes you see people make in their real estate careers, whether that be investing or sales?
Well, it's really any job, right? It's leverage. What's the one thing you can leverage that'll catapult you in the next 6 to 12 months, right? And for everyone, that's something different. So it's, we don't lack resources, we lack resourcefulness. So how do we figure out what that is for us based on kind of like what Dave said, if my specialty is being a listing agent or my specialty is being a buyer's agent or whatever, do I need to build a team? Can I exponentially, will that help me? Or do I need to get an admin to catapult my business? Do I need to get more education? What is it? Do I need more technology? Something's going to catapult me this quarter, this year. What will really move the needle for me in my business, right? How do I really grow my business? How do I make it exponential?
And you think one of the biggest mistakes people make is not understanding what that leverage is and utilizing it, right?
Yeah, I think we tend to be like herding cats. We're trying to do a little bit of everything. We're real busy over here with our closings, but we're not prospecting, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And we just get bogged down in the fire alarm that's going off at the moment, instead of really mapping things out and really planning. Working on our business instead of just in it all the time. It does pay to take a day, a Sunday afternoon, and sit down and say, how can I really expand this business, and how can I get repeat business? How can I build my network? For me, my network catapulted my real estate business for sure.
All right, so now we're gonna go back in time a little bit, right? So we're gonna go back 20. We're gonna go back 20 years. We're gonna cut your careers in half. Right?
Hopefully.
What is the advice that you would give yourself? You've already been in the business 20 years, but knowing what you know now and going back 20 years, what would you have done differently?
I would say for me personally is become more computerized. I'm not the most technical person in the world, and I think, and that has to go with education. I mean, I'm really good with forms and technology in that respect. We just had a class today here at VRA, and one of the guys in the class, he's pretty experienced, and he said, I love coming to these because I always learn something. And it was only an hour class, and he walked out. Well, I don't know what it was that he learned from me, but I was teaching the class, and that's what you need to understand. You have to understand the contracts. And if I had to do it 20 years ago, I would have probably gotten more.
You would have leveraged technology.
Yeah, technology more.
Dave, how about yourself?
The first 15 years I was in the business, I was what I call a regular agent. I sold a house to anyone who had a pulse, first-time home buyers, anybody. But then I became an investor-friendly agent and specialized, kind of like what Dave was hinting around about.
Finding a niche.
Found my niche. It was working with investors. And I was selling about 75, 80 houses a year. And I had all these unique resources to benefit my clients. And when I look back, I realized I could have bought 75, 80 houses a year myself. And I actually have friends that have owned 1,500 houses, 500 houses. And I used to wonder, how did they ever do it? How did they ever get to that? But I realize now they could buy 75, 80 houses a year. Mm-hmm. You could do that over, 5, 10 years. And next thing you know, you got this huge portfolio. And today I do have a very large portfolio, but I look back, I could have, done that exponentially much quicker and had been, much more wealthier sooner. So sometimes we can't see the forest from the trees. I was so granular, working on aspects of the business. I was in a multiple streams of income world instead of really focusing on, I could have been really building my portfolio. Because when you think about it, I was selling houses to go make commissions, to go buy properties, to build my portfolio, when I had all the resources to just do it
build
right
the
out of the gate.
portfolio,
And I was
right.
like, wow, I really missed the train on that.
Yeah, I call that in order to thinking, in order to, right? So we think like, in order to do this, I need to do this first.
Well,
But
it's
9
fear,
times
too.
out of 10,
Yeah.
you don't. It's just how we look at the world and mitigate our risk, or focus on the things that we're comfortable with and are right there.
Yeah, it's fear. It's fear of success, I
Yeah.
think. Fear of success. I
And
think.
change.
Yeah, and change.
A lot of
and
people don't like
thinking
change and
differently.
grab
So-
change and go for it.
So let's talk about change then, because with change comes obstacles, right? And looking back on your career, what was one of the most challenging moments, and how did you overcome it?
That's a good question. I would say back in '96, actually, I was president of Chester County Association of Realtors back then, and I took over at the same time I was inducted as president of Chester County. That same day, I was named as a manager of a new office, or new to me. And all of a sudden, it was like this. And then 2 weeks later, I had to fire the CEO of the Board of Realtors at the Association of Realtors. And I had a brand new it was 96 was one of the worst years of my life. Looking back on it, I don't know how I did it. But that if I had the choice, I would,
Well, why
redo that.
what had you not quit, right? Because you kept going.
Yeah,
So you forged
yeah.
ahead regardless of
and
the
and I did, and
circumstances.
we got a new CEO for the Board of Realtors, and it turned out well. And I grew my office, and so I was doing it, but it was a lot of work.
But there are a lot of pivotal moments like that where
Yeah.
people throw in the towel, or just
Yep.
they never fully recover, right?
Yep.
So that was, looking back, it was probably a speed bump, but at the time it was a mountain that you were climbing. What would you say helped you get through that?
I think just determination that I wasn't going to fail on either of them, and you feel like there's that you fail a little bit because you have to let someone go and that kind of stuff, but. In the end, I think when the year was over, I grew my office a little bit and was able to turn over the Board of Realtors to the next president in pretty good shape. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so key that we can all just be able to
look back and reflect.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes through different
learn
things,
from
and it's what helps you get over it. I mean,
Yeah.
no one's without challenges. So,
Yeah.
so Dave, you've
Which Dave?
Dave Van Horn.
Okay.
Dave has built a private equity real estate company approaching $2 billion in assets that you founded. You're now, basically exited the business other than being on the board. What is your biggest challenge you've come across in growing that business? Because I know that's really, you could go back 20, 30 years and when you're in sales, but I think
Well, there's so many. of them.
growing a $2 billion firm.
The biggest challenge? Well, we pivoted a couple times, so we changed the model. I think you got to know when things aren't working and to cut bait and start in another direction. At first, I thought you were going to say, what was your biggest challenge as an agent? And that's what I was thinking along that lines. It was when I first became an agent. The first year was brutal, but I think persistence is what, just grinding through that and getting trained and trying to, training meant a lot in the beginning. By the third year I was in the business, I was the top agent in the company I worked at. They had 7 offices and about 250 agents. And so in that 3-year period, just by hanging in there, next thing you know, I was top agent. But then they, I started training people, and they gave me 3 people, then it was 5 people, and then they wanted me to be assistant manager. I was assistant manager of an office, and then they wanted me to become a manager of an office. And I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. So I'm kind of glad they gave me a couple people because I was actually losing money because I was more of an agent. I was not, so just because you're a good salesperson doesn't always mean you'll be a good manager.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, I'm sure. Nothing against the trainers and managers. God bless them. They're great. It wasn't for me, though.
Right.
And I'm glad I figured that out because if I had taken the management seat, I would have taken a significant pay cut because as top agent, I made a lot more than the typical manager did at the time.
Yeah.
So it was actually a blessing in disguise kind of thing for me. So that was, probably one of the bigger challenges. It's back to figuring out who you are, knowing yourself, and that's
Motivation too. When you're especially getting new in the business, what's your motivation?
Yeah.
And one thing that fascinates me about both of you is you're both avid learners. I know, Dave, you're a big reader, and I know, Dave Ashe, you're constantly going to new trainings and just updating like all your whole, just being the chairman of Tri-County Board of Realtors, you have to be interested in all the changes and how everything's adapting and the market's moving. And, so obviously you have that instilled in you. There's some like innate level of just curiosity because both of you have been in the business 40 years. You've learned a lot. But every time I'm with either one of you, I hear you talking about how you're continuing your education. I don't want to say like CE for real estate sales, but just your general information that you want to learn about.
It's more knowledge than education because my knowledge that I've had over the years, I'm passing on to agents, freely, and my experience, I guess, is a better way. But I barely got into college. The only reason I got into college was I was on the swim team, and the swim coach got me accepted into the college, and I graduated, but I was never a big learner. But this is more because I have a passion for it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm alluding to.
I found my passion. I have a passion for it and to grow myself
I look
personally.
for patterns, right, in life, and you see people are successful and longevity, right? Like you're in this business, but you're still passionate about what you're doing. And you're still, it doesn't feel like being around, when I'm around you, it doesn't seem like you're dragging yourself to work. Like you're fueled to go do this and you want to learn and you want to help and give back. So, I don't know exactly what my question is, but it's more just, how do the listeners really tap into that? Because there's a clear pattern that people are very successful. They're passionate about learning about whatever they're going after, right? And they're almost, I don't want to say like obsessive, but like there's a continual push to learn and get better. So what would you say to someone who, is earlier in their career and they don't really know who they want to be when they grow up? Like, how do they know where to focus their learning? And what has that looked like? What does that look like, over time? I know it's a tough question. My questions are always layered.
Well, it's like Steve Jobs said, be curious, right? That's Stanford talk, right? So it's just, in recent times for me, I became a CEPA, which is a Certified Exit Planning Advisor. And I have to do... Why would I do that? Why would I sign up for 40 hours of continuing ed and all that goes into that? But it's really just another way to help people. It's not even for myself, in some ways I've pretty much exited, right? So it's really to help others be able to achieve something. So it's...
And would you say that your learning has been based upon what you were up against at the time? So like meaning you became a certified exit planning specialist. You probably didn't have that interest 10 years ago when you were building the business, but when you were looking at exiting it, right? So, they say, I forget what the stat is, but, it's like 80 or 90% of people don't really ever read a book after they graduate college.
Yeah. That was me. I didn't read anything for probably at least 5 years after college. And now I'm reading 5 and 6 books at a time. So it's kind of interesting how it's flipped.
So Dave Ashe, going back to your education, because like you said, you weren't really like a great student, so to speak, and neither was I. But I'm always reading up on real estate and the market and investing and the things that I'm passionate about. What do you feel like that's kind of similar with you, where it's just?
Yeah, I think it all has to do too with what I can give back, not just for my career, but. I joined VRA, 2 months ago at 71 years old. And who the heck would change a job like that at 71 years old?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
He's still trying to figure out how he got me. But I think that my point is the last 2 months have been, I'm exhilarated. I mean, I'm really excited about the growth that we potentially have here at VRA. And it's just going to take time, and change is typically always good. And this change for me personally has been really, really well.
Yeah. And one common denominator I heard in that was that it's not just you're learning for yourself, but you're learning
to pass on.
How can you become more valuable to help other people is really what I heard in that. I heard that from both of you.
Yeah.
That, there's this, I think the desire comes from hey, I want to be better.
Right.
So I can make a bigger difference, so I can have more impact.
And I think it depends on who you surround yourself with. I mean, as chairman of the board at Tri-County right now, Tri-County is the largest association in Pennsylvania, but it's the 33rd largest in the country. And so we have 9,000 members, and the staff at Tri-County does such a great job. So it's not just me, but I'm working with them, and I'm going to meetings, and I'm meeting all the other people that I've been involved with at Tri-County for years.
Yeah, in one sense, you're saying,
my
hey,
competitors.
I'm going to take responsibility for doing the best that I can
and
to
give back
provide
to
the best
business.
information to the agents that are a part of this association, the realtors, to help them with their career, and then that.
And we're full of professionals within Tri-County, but also just in Chester County for realtors. And that's what you try and do, is surround yourself by the professionals and learn from them.
So this all kind of ties together into my next and final question, which is, I don't really think either one of you has to work at this point, right? You've put your time in, and you work because there's some purpose behind it. And it really ties into what I was just saying. But, where do you find the most purpose in life and in business?
Go ahead, Dave.
You're throwing me to the wolves. For me, it's easy. It's just helping others, right? So it's a combination of things, helping my family and my kids and my grandkids and things like that, as well as, I still own a part owner of a company. I'm a co-owner, helping my team, helping them grow as best I can, and our investors and other stakeholders. And then, just on the consulting side, helping people grow their businesses and hopefully have a good exit and help their families and charities and things like that. So that's the part that I enjoy the most, is really helping others be able to grow and, enjoy the fruits of their labor, kind of thing.
Yeah. And for me, it's family first. I mean, I have 3 boys and 7 grandkids, and my wife and I have been married. It'll be 48 years this year. And so it's family, but I've been so blessed that this business has been able to get me to where my family is, that we're comfortable, and it's a bright future. So I continue to work at 71 years old. I'm going to be doing this for the next, 5 to 10 years, hopefully, because I love it. It's not work to me, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I know, Dave Van Horn, you and I have talked a lot about when people are chasing the success of growing a business and grinding and hustling, it's to achieve a certain financial status for most people. And then, once they do, a lot of times they almost are in this in this problem area in their life where it's like, how do I find my purpose? So that's why I brought it up. And any just last words of wisdom that you want to leave with our listeners, that they can get to, you get to put your fingerprint on their life by just, what really matters to you and what you want to leave with them in this conversation.
Well, as you get older, time becomes more valuable than money, right? And when you're younger, money's more valuable than time. And that'll switch for just about everybody, I think, at some point. But, try to stop and smell the roses somewhere along the way,
Yeah, life is too short to not stop and smell the roses, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thanks
Yeah,
for sharing
appreciate
your
it.
wisdom. And there's 100 years of experience and
And we don't
30 minutes.
We don't look 40.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.